The 2024 DNC, Dawanto. A sea of faces, expectant eyes focused on Vice President Kamala Harris. Her words that night, the most lethal fighting force in the history of the world, reverberated across the nation, igniting both praise and controversy. But what did she truly mean? What story did those carefully chosen words aim to tell? Let's dissect the layers beneath this potent phrase. When Kamala Harris proclaimed the U.S. military the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world, she tapped into a well-worn groove of political rhetoric, one that prioritizes a chillingly vague concept: lethality. But what does this word, so readily deployed by politicians and Pentagon officials alike, actually mean? This isn't about acknowledging the raw power at America's disposal. It's about dissecting a dangerous obsession, one that masks a legacy of military misadventures and questionable victories with the cold comfort of superior firepower. From Bush to Obama, Trump to Biden, the glorification of the U.S. military has become a bipartisan pastime. Each leader, eager to claim the mantle of strongest military ever, conveniently glosses over the inconvenient truths littering recent history. Where was this lethality in the rice paddies of Vietnam, the streets of Mogadishu, or the mountains of Afghanistan? These conflicts, etched with the scars of stalemate and outright defeat, expose the hollowness of lethality as a metric for success. The Pentagon's obsession with lethality goes beyond mere rhetoric. It infects their very language, transforming the brutal reality of warfare into a bloodless equation of anti-access capabilities and optimized technologies. This sterile jargon serves a sinister purpose. It sanitizes violence, distancing us from the human cost of perpetual war. Suddenly, we're not talking about drone strikes obliterating families in Yemen, but penetrating defenses at range. The dehumanization of both the enemy and the consequences of engagement becomes palatable, even desirable, in the pursuit of a dangerously abstract goal. Senator Bernie Sanders hit a nerve when he challenged the ever-expanding military budget in light of Vice President Harris's most lethal fighting force declaration. Could it be that America's pursuit of lethality is actually hindering its strategic goals rather than advancing them? The evidence is compelling. The United States spends more on defense than the next 10 nations combined, yet remains mired in seemingly endless conflicts with few tangible victories to show for it. This begs the question: what are we truly achieving with all this lethality? President Eisenhower famously warned of the growing influence of the military-industrial complex, a powerful alliance of defense contractors, politicians, and military leaders with a vested interest in perpetuating a state of perpetual war. This complex thrives on the insatiable hunger for ever-increasing lethality, regardless of the strategic cost. The result? A bloated military budget that prioritizes expensive weapons systems and technologies over diplomacy, foreign aid, and other forms of soft power that could prove far more effective in achieving lasting peace and security. The Pentagon's current infatuation with lethality hinges on the belief that technological dominance translates into military superiority. But as recent history has shown, this is a dangerous fallacy. From the jungles of Vietnam to the mountains of Afghanistan, technologically inferior adversaries have repeatedly exposed the limits of American military might. The reason? Technological prowess, while important, cannot compensate for flawed strategy, a lack of clear objectives, or the complex realities of fighting insurgencies and asymmetrical warfare. Ironically, the relentless pursuit of lethality may actually be undermining the very force it aims to strengthen. As the Pentagon pours billions into cutting-edge weapon systems, essential needs like veteran health care, mental health support, and troop readiness often suffer. Imagine instead a military budget that prioritized the well-being and training of its soldiers as much as its weapon systems. A budget that invested in diplomacy and conflict resolution, rather than perpetuating a cycle of endless war. Beyond lethality, the untapped power of a different kind of force. When fixated solely on lethality, we overlook a potent arsenal at America's disposal. Its ability to inspire, to innovate, and to uplift. This isn't about naive idealism, but recognizing the strategic power of a different kind of force, one rooted in diplomacy, economic support, and global cooperation. Consider the aftermath of World War II. Europe lay in ruins, its economy shattered, its people desperate. The U.S., instead of brandishing its military might, embarked on a radical act: the Marshall Plan. This massive investment in rebuilding war-torn nations helped spark an economic miracle, transforming former enemies into allies and laying the foundation for decades of relative peace and prosperity. This wasn't just altruism. It was strategic genius. The Marshall Plan demonstrated that true security comes not just from military strength, but from fostering stability and prosperity abroad. The 21st century presents a new set of challenges: climate change, pandemics, terrorism, and cyber warfare, threats that cannot be bombed into submission. These challenges demand a more nuanced approach, one that recognizes the limits of military force and embraces the power of soft power. Imagine a world where America invested as heavily in diplomacy, foreign aid, and cultural exchange programs as it does in weapon systems. Imagine a nation that led not just through military might, but through the strength of its ideas, its values, and its commitment to a better future for all. Ultimately, the measure of a nation's strength lies not just in its ability to inflict destruction, but in its commitment to building a more just and peaceful world. It's time for America to reclaim its position as a global leader, not just in terms of military might, but in its dedication to diplomacy, innovation, and cooperation. That's a legacy truly worth fighting for. The human cost of lethality, remembering the faces behind the force. Lost in the sterile language of anti-access capabilities and optimized technologies is a simple, yet profound truth. The U.S. military is comprised of individuals, mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, who risk their lives in service to their country. When we speak of lethality, we cannot forget the human faces behind the force, both those who serve and those who bear the brunt of its power. The relentless pursuit of lethality comes at a steep cost, and not just in terms of dollars and cents. The constant state of military engagement takes a heavy toll on service members, both physically and mentally. We ask them to endure multiple deployments, to witness unimaginable horrors, to confront death on a regular basis. And for what? Too often, these sacrifices are made in service of ill-defined missions, with no clear exit strategies and with little regard for the long-term consequences. Beyond the battlefield, the obsession with lethality erodes the moral standing of a nation that claims to champion freedom and democracy. When drone strikes kill innocent civilians, when torture is justified in the name of security, when wars are waged on false pretenses, we betray the very values we claim to defend. This isn't about being soft on defense. It's about recognizing that true strength lies not just in military might, but in the moral authority of a nation that leads with compassion, integrity, and a commitment to justice. If we truly value the sacrifices of our military personnel, we must demand more than empty platitudes about the most lethal fighting force. We must hold our leaders accountable for the decisions they make, for the wars they wage, and for the human cost of their pursuit of lethality. It's time to redefine what it means to be a strong and secure nation, one that values peace over perpetual war, diplomacy over destruction, and justice over blind allegiance to military might. This isn't just about honoring those who serve. It's about preserving the soul of a nation. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. I love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Share this video with your friends to help spread the word. Thank you, and see you in the next one.